All right. Just before we get started, I just want to. So I'm recording this, and I
Hmm.
want to just make sure that I have your consent to film the entirety of this interview and post it publicly on YouTube.
You have my consent, Mr. Taylor.
All right. And have you consulted with anyone else beforehand on the answers that are on what you're going to say during this interview?
No.
Okay. And can you confirm for everyone watching that I have not given you any that I've not told you what any of the contents of the questions are going to be beforehand.
You have indeed not.
Okay, then let's get started. All right, so
Okay.
first off, I'd like you to just introduce yourself to everybody and say why you want to continue serving as prefect.
Hello, I am Flo203. I started speedrunning in 2018. My first game was HP1. And I think the first time I've got some kind of permission, sort of, is when I got verifier on HP1. And then from there, I played the other games. I was very active in the community. Then people gave me more power, aka first Wizengamot and then Prefect. And mostly it's just I like helping people, trying to help verifying runs so that it doesn't stay like pending in the queue for too long, like guide people, help them for tricks, help moderating when there's too much problem going on in the Discord, but generally just like helping people as much as possible. And the highest role, aka prefect, is what allows you to help people the most because you have the most power.
Interesting. Now, why do you think being at the highest level of administration would allow you to, or what about that actually allows you to help out, help people like you're saying more than just maybe being Wizengamot or even just a regular member of the community. I mean, like I help people all the time, or I try to if there's if they have issues. So why does that require administrative
Well,
powers?
yeah. Well, I guess it's just kind of always been like prefects have always been at the top, and uh you get to like post message and announcement, put message in resources, etc. I think they changed it recently, so that Wizengamot can do it as well, but I'm not entirely sure. Uh, but I don't necessarily care if I'm not prefect, as long as I can still like do all the things like post an announcement and resources and everything. I just want to have like enough power so that I can help regarding that, like regarding posting like resources, posting help, posting news about like rules decision or like discussions that we're having.
So
It's not
you,
necessarily prefect on its own. It's just like being able to have the power to do stuff.
so you see yourself as kind of like a public servant, is that correct?
Pretty much, yes.
So are you interested at all in the other responsibilities that you come with being at least Wizengamot or higher, which is making important decisions? Do you feel that you're able to make important decisions as a part of a group? Um,
Oh yeah, for sure. But I mean, we've had like several discussions. Whatever, if doesn't matter if it was like rules or like Discord administration. Like I always like took part in them and like tried to give my input, what I thought it was good, etc. Um, so yeah, I think I'd be good at it.
all right. I'm gonna give you one of the questions that one of the community members submitted to me, which is actually before we do that, let's just I would like you to elaborate. I was gonna say I'd like you to elaborate a bit more on what helping people looks like, but you actually kind of covered that already. So yeah, let's just go right into
Mm-hmm.
the community questions. In regards to decision making, when it's something that's going to affect a lot of people and that a lot of people have an opinion about, would you put your own preferences aside to do what the community wants, rather than what you personally think is best. And that one comes from Ryan, aka Feel My Goods.
Oh yeah. I mean for sure. Like obviously you sometime you might be a little biased. Like yeah, I try not to as much as possible, but like obviously when you share your opinions, you're gonna like obviously try to show that like you give valid points essentially to give some credibility to your opinion so that people maybe eventually agree with you or not, but at least that see and understand your point of view. But
So, oh,
I
go ahead. Yeah.
yeah, like not necessarily trying to convince people, but just see, hey, try to be open minded and like see that my opinion is a possibility. But like I never try to force people into my like way of thinking. It's just like I express my opinions and then I read other opinions, like what people think about whenever we have like real discussion or whatever. And at the end, like if there's a vote, I'm not gonna be like, yeah, no, I don't care. I want my what I said to like pass as the main rule. It's just whatever people decide as like a whole, the community, etc.
What do you do when there is no consensus?
As in,
Let's say there's a okay. So when Ryan gave me this question, he also gave me a specific example I could use to help illustrate it, which is,
mm-hmm,
um, all right. So here's this. This is an actual situation that we're dealing with right now. I think that's going to be dealt with in the near future. So in Harry Potter 1, which I know is a game that you're heavily involved with, having had the world
yeah,
record several times. I don't. Do you currently have the world record in Harry Potter 1?
I still have it.
You
Yeah,
still have
I
it, right?
didn't
So
win.
you're so
Yeah,
you're
for like 4 years straight.
the most lauded HP1 streamer and runner in the recent memory. So
Yes.
Ryan wanted to know, like, let's say people there's been a growing call for the intro cutscene to not be included in the run.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people who feel like that it's too long. It kills all their interest in wanting to run the category. So they want to be able to start from the first map essentially after the slideshow has
Mm-hmm.
ended.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Like, and if enough people, you know, well, for okay, let's two-part question. First of all, do you agree with that, with allowing to start from the first actual level and just have people because
Uh.
it auto saves, so you could just
Yeah.
start from
Yeah.
the auto save essentially.
I don't disagree with it. I'm just not a big fan of it. But I can see my main point of view regarding that is I think if you have an intro, if there's any input that has to be done during that intro, like for example, Ocarina of Time, like recently they decided to start on first movement of Link, I think, and it skips the intro, but the intro actually has text where you have to mash, and you can lose like frames on mashing, and it's that kind of thing that I want to avoid. Where if there's any input that has to be done during the intro, like it's just a big no for me. But HP1, for that matter, doesn't have any input at all. It's literally the first input is when you load the map. So I would be fine with it, but it's just I think starting on new game with your timer starting at 0 second makes more sense because the kind of starting your timer at like a specific time also we would have to retime out a language, etc. But I think it makes more sense overall to start a new game. It's not necessarily a big argument or anything. I'm not against it, it's just I don't really like it.
So clearly, you've put a lot of thought into this, and you're carefully considering both options. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I especially since it would probably push people a bit more towards like learning HP1 and making it maybe more popular, having more runs. I feel like it'd be maybe a good idea. I'm not a big fan of it, but if that's what people want, I don't think it would do a lot of bad. It would probably do more good overall.
All right. So like, let's say we were. I don't know if this is the situation, but if there was a
Mm-hmm.
situation where like, so clearly, as I'm talking to you about this, you're bringing up all sorts of different points. You've thought a lot about this. You've carefully considered the risks and the benefits.
Mm-hmm.
What if you were talking to a group of people, like let's say there was a majority of HP1 runners who wanted intro skip, and when you brought it up and you asked them why, they just said, like what if the argument was, well, more people want it than don't want it, and then if you asked them about it, they weren't showing the same level of thoughtfulness about it. Would you still consider their opinions? Like, would you still go along with it if people weren't able to accurately describe even why they wanted it, but were still had a majority, having a majority?
I think that's the way we decided it. That if, as long as you have a run on the board, you're allowed to vote. I obviously like a bit more if people actually give, um, like opinions on why they like it, etc. But it's always kind of weird to define because like someone could just say like something random like I don't like intro, so I think it should be removed, and that's my opinion. And like in if someone says that it doesn't really contribute to like anything, uh, they didn't really give any argument. It's just I like it. Oh, I like it without intro, and that's it. Which is why I think it's better if people give opinions, but it's always hard to like I feel like you exclude a lot of people if you're just like, yeah, no, you have to give a valid opinion, otherwise you can't vote. Which is why I think we never enforced it because it's always kind of hard to judge whether someone gave a point that was valid enough or like an opinion that was valid enough to be able to vote. Which is why I think we've always kind of been like, as long as you have a run, you've like played around with the game, you know enough about the game, so you can vote. But it's just really hard to decide on something.
Yeah, I think that's one of the kind of inherent dangers of democracy, which is that you're giving control to a group of people who it requires responsibility on the behalf of the people who are in power, which is everyone, because we're all making decisions
Mm,
together in a democratic system. Everybody gets to be consulted. Everyone who's part of the community and who has achieved a certain level of status, which in this case is just having a single run done. Do you
mm-hmm.
do you think that is like enough to say, okay, your voice now matters as much as someone who maybe has been running the game for 10 years? Like, should there be, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously there is a hierarchy because we have prefects and Wiz and Gamut, but at the end of the day, for like the big rule changes, if you put it to, it's put to things have traditionally, at least in the past few years, been put to a straight vote. And
Yeah.
now who gets to be prefect is also being put to a straight vote. Do you
Mm-hmm.
think that there is potential for, like, do you think this kind of rise of populism in the Harry Potter speedrunning community is a good thing? Is it dangerous? Like, do you think we have to be careful about how we approach democracy?
We definitely have to be careful because, like, for example, we set requirements on like you can vote for like any prefect that you think would be good. You don't have to necessarily give an opinion, but I like we're still gonna have the name of or like for example, just people who apply to Wizengamot. It's um like we still see the name. We see like if they meet the requirement that we put, and like I don't think like anyone should be able to vote because then you get this kind of scenario where it's like this one person brings like 5 or 6 people to his side and just like a vote everyone just votes for the same person, and then like obviously it's not a good reflection of what the community would have voted, which is why I think it's good to have this kind of thing where people present their opinions. You don't get this kind of thing where you can just like vote and do whatever you want. You can just bring like 5 or 6 people with you, tell them like, yeah, just do one run and say nothing, just vote for the people I like, and people would probably, you know, vote for that person. So I think it's always good to have, you know, a little bit of like telling people give your arguments and opinions before actually voting. But I don't know. It's a really hard topic. It's just like it's really hard to put. I don't know, like to draw the line essentially.
Right. Well, I personally am hopeful that introducing more, giving more community members a voice in things that matter. I think I'm hopeful that that's going to give a good outcome. I think
Mm-hmm.
what we're doing right now with giving regular people like me a chance to have some say in who actually makes decisions and in the leadership and who they want to lead them as a community. I think that's going to be a good system going forward. It's probably going to need some adjustment as we kind of,
Mm-hmm.
or not me personally, but as the people in charge kind of work out the problems. But I think the fact that um, the problems are being worked on is good. Like, do you agree with that?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, definitely. I think we're doing better overall than we were doing like a few months ago.
Can you talk about that briefly?
Because it used to be a lot more about like prefects have the full power. It's still kind of gonna be like that, but we're gonna like I feel like in the past it was a lot more about we prefects talk among each other and then post something like, "Oh yeah, we've been talking about that, and this rule is gonna pass." Not exactly like that. Like we had discussions, voting, etc. But I feel like right now we're trying to include the whole community a lot more, rather than like doing the things on our side and then just like passing like a new rule out of nowhere without really telling anyone beforehand. It's still not perfect, but I think it's getting better.
Yeah, me too. I'm hopeful for the future. All right, and then one last question, I think, before I let you go. Um,
Hmm.
in your personal opinion, is reloading cheating?
Yes, but it's a fun cheat.
But it's a fun cheat. All right, thank you so much,
Yes.
Flo. Best of luck in your elections, and I hope you
Thank
have
you.
a great day.
You too.
Thank you.